Venezuela, a land of extraordinary beauty, vast oil wealth, and deep political struggle. Once one of the richest nations in Latin America, its story is not just about power but promises, collapse, and resistance. Imagine sun-drenched coasts, oil rigs like steel forests, and streets where hope and hardship meet. In the years of boom, wealth flowed, infrastructure gleamed, dreams felt within reach. Then the economy unraveled. Mismanagement, falling oil prices, corruption, sanctions, and political fights eroded institutions. People adapted. Markets sprung up, families stretched resources, communities organized. Against that backdrop, a fictional operation emerges. Mission AbsoluteResolve, a decisive plan by diverse Venezuelans and exiles, determined to rebuild trust, secure resources, and revive democratic norms. The mission blends grassroots activism, technological ingenuity, and discreet diplomacy, aiming to heal fractures without violence. This is neither fantasy nor blueprint, but a portrait of resilience, of ordinary citizens refusing to be defined by collapse. It's a story of beauty, abundance, pain, and the stubborn hope that a better Venezuela is still possible today. Located on the northern coast of South America, Venezuela stretches from Atlantic beaches into the Amazon, up into the Andes peaks, and beneath it all lies the world's largest proven oil reserves. In Caracas, modern towers pierce the skyline, while dense, lively neighborhoods weave below, a city of sharp contrasts that tells a bigger story. For decades, oil was the nation's heartbeat. Revenue funded education, hospitals, infrastructure, and social programs that lifted many. Roads were built, universities expanded, and hopes rose with every barrel. But that same reliance on black gold became a vulnerability. Global prices fluctuated, production and governance faltered, and social gains proved fragile when income dried up. Today, Venezuela's landscape still holds immense natural wealth. Rivers, forests, and mountains, alongside resilient communities adapting to change. The story is not just about decline, it's about complexity, how geography, resources, politics, and people intertwine. Understanding Venezuela means seeing both beauty and challenge, and remembering that dependence on a single resource can shape a nation's fate. Nicolás Maduro rose from humble beginnings and worked his way up beside Hugo Chavez. When Chavez died, Maduro became president and vowed to protect the Bolivarian revolution, defend Venezuela's sovereignty, and resist foreign influence. Early on, he presented himself as a guardian of social programs and national dignity, promising oil wealth would serve the people. Yet governing exposed deep challenges. Falling oil revenues, mismanagement, and international pressures fueled runaway hyperinflation that erased savings. Supermarket shelves often sat empty as chronic food shortages turned daily life into a struggle. Recurrent power failures plunged neighborhoods and hospitals into darkness, worsening fears and hardship. Mass protests swept cities, met with heavy-handed responses that intensified polarization. As conditions worsened, millions of Venezuelans made the decision to leave, creating one of the largest migration crises, stretching across Latin America and beyond. Today, Nicolás Maduro's tenure is still debated. Some view him as a defender of sovereignty. Others see a leader whose rule coincided with economic collapse and a failure to secure basic needs for citizens. After months of rising tension, Washington moved decisively against Nicolás Maduro's government. The U.S. had repeatedly accused Maduro of drug trafficking and warned stronger measures were coming, even seizing Venezuelan-linked oil tankers and imposing a blockade to squeeze Caracas economically. The stated aim was clear: counter narco-terrorism and neutralize regional threats. In a surprise operation called Operation AbsoluteResolve, U.S. forces launched precision airstrikes and deployed elite units to key sites in and around Caracas. Satellite images later showed damage at major military facilities, confirming the rapid, targeted nature of the assault. The narrative climaxed when Maduro and his wife were apprehended by U.S. forces. They were first escorted to a U.S. naval ship for processing, then flown to New York to face prosecution. The scene was hushed but unmistakable, a dramatic, high-stakes move blending military pressure, legal pursuit, and diplomatic repercussions. The operation reshaped regional dynamics and sent a stark signal about U.S. priorities on narco-terrorism. Observers continue analyzing consequences for global security and regional stability. Scenes open with Venezuelan officials condemning an attack as military aggression and declaring a national emergency. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez appears at a podium, invoking constitutional authority and insisting Nicolás Maduro remains the legitimate president. State media broadcasts demand proof of life for Maduro, while crowds gather in the streets, tense but resolute. The government frames the strikes as illegal intervention and calls for international solidarity. Minutes later, the focus shifts to legal and geopolitical fallout. Maduro is scheduled to appear in a New York federal court on charges including narco-terrorism and cocaine trafficking, a reminder of long-running U.S. indictments. In Washington, officials signal that U.S. oversight in Venezuela, especially over its oil industry, may persist for now. Oil fields and pipelines become strategic backdrops to a larger context. The situation is unpredictable. Regional stability, international norms, and U.S.-Latin America relations hang in the balance. Ordinary Venezuelans see a story about safety, sovereignty, and proof of leadership, of life, and of who will shape nation's chapter.
Learn with Brainy Fazda. Stay tuned. Hit subscribe.